Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a fantasy film, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Somewhere at a department store in Florida, Jake is busy greeting the customers when suddenly his co-worker calls out to him, saying that his grandpa has a phone call for him. Later on, the co-worker gives Jake a ride and he proceeds to call his grandpa, who is supposedly suffering from dementia. The grandpa tells Jake to stay away, acting odd, making Jake end their conversation and hang up the phone. Jake and the co-worker arrive at their destination when a man with white eyes suddenly appears in front as they are driving. Despite being surprised, the co-worker continues to drive. Jake heads out of the car as soon as they arrive at the grandpa's place. He continues to knock at the door, but no one answers. Jake then uses his keys to open the door. He searches for his grandpa, but fails to find him. Jake tells the co-worker that someone broke inside his grandpa's house, so the co-worker rushes back to her car to get her gun. As Jake turns his head to look around, he sees an eerie-looking forest. Jake heads towards the forest and finds a flashlight on the ground with blood on it. He grabs the flashlight and enters the forest. Jake sees his grandpa lying down on the ground. Jake rushes to his side and turns him around, only to find him eyeless and unconscious. Jake calls for emergency when his grandpa suddenly grabs his arm and warns Jake that he needs to go away, insisting that he listen. He instructs Jake to go to the island and find a person there. He proceeds to say a couple of things concerning Jake before dining. The co-worker shows up with a gun when Jake sees a giant-like figure from afar, which turns out to be a hollow, creepy-looking creature. Jake warns his co-worker about the hollow, but she proceeds to fire her gun to shoot it. A month after, Jake talks about what happened to his therapist. Jake shares about his grandpa, telling him stories back when he was a kid. The grandpa used to tell him about his childhood, where he used to be in a place for special children, although talking about it with his therapist did not help him with his troubles, as the therapist couldn't seem to help him with his odd story. After some time, Jake and his dad go back to their home after cleaning the grandpa's place. As Jake enters the door, he gets greeted by their relatives as it's his birthday. Jake rushes inside his room when his aunt enters and gives him a gift from his grandpa that she found. The aunt leaves, so Jake opens his present. He discovers that it's a book. Jake sees a postcard of a place his grandpa had mentioned inside the book. The back of the postcard contains a text from Miss Peregrine, saying that she looks forward to seeing Jake. The next scene shows Jake and his parents discussing the postcard with the therapist. It was written in the letter that Jake was suggesting going to the island, but his parents refused his idea out of concern. With the help of the therapist, Jake manages to convince his parents to let him visit the children's home for the closure of his grief over his grandfather's death. Afterward, Jake and his dad journey to the island. While on the boat, the father spots a peregrine falcon flying in the air. Jake sarcastically introduces himself to the bird, as he jokingly thinks it's Miss Peregrine, the headmistress of the children's home. They get off the boat as soon as they arrive on the island and head toward where they're going to stay. Jake looks all over the place when two men appear behind him. The dad asks them where the manager of the place is. One of them then introduces himself as the manager and assists them. Jake then instantly suggests going to the children's home, so his dad decides to find someone that can accompany him to go there. As they walk, Jake asks the name of the two boys that are accompanying him. They answer Jake with made-up names. The two boys laugh at Jake as he stumbles from the mud. Jake heads towards the trees and sees the wrecked place of the children's home. Disappointed, Jake asks the man about what happened to the children's home. As soon as he arrives back at the hotel, he responds that the children's home was involved in an air raid, causing it to be destroyed. He also adds that there were no survivors. This means even Miss Peregrine didn't survive. The next day, Jake goes back to the ruined children's house and decides to explore inside. As he explores, a girl and a couple of children appear, scaring Jake out of his shit. Jake tries to run away, but stumbles from the debris. When Jake regains his consciousness, he is greeted by a group of peculiar children, including Emma, Olive, Bronwyn, Millard, and the twins, who all got their special ability and were tasked by Miss Peregrine to get Jake here. They then invite Jake to go somewhere, as Miss Peregrine is waiting for them. As they enter a dark cave, Jake gets scared and rushes back to the town. Jake mistook a place to be where he and his dad were staying. A man misidentified Jake as a spy, and so he confronts him. Just when things are about to get complicated, peculiar things begin to happen. Utensils start to fly around the place as it breaks. Olive then grabs Jake and lights the building on fire. Emma quickly reins the Ferrari horse, fleeing the area with Jake and the other two riding on the back. Emma and others inform Jake that they're currently in a time loop, as it is September 3rd, 1943 for them every day. They arrive at the children's home. Miss Peregrine opens the door for them and greets Jake. Miss Peregrine gives her condolences to Jake for his grandpa's death, and they head towards the garden where they talk. Miss Peregrine shares about her ability to decide on reliving the same day over and over again, creating a loop. She adds that she chose a peaceful day, which she thought was best for everyone. After that, Miss Peregrine decides to show Jake around. She then leaves Jake with Emma, as she is in urgent need. Emma asks Jake to help her return the baby squirrel up on the tree, so Jake proceeds to tie her waist with a rope, and Emma removes her heavy shoes, flying up in the air. It seems that she gets no gravity. After this, Olive calls out to Jake, asking him to come and meet Teddy. As Jake enters the room, he initiates to talk to Teddy, who is busy assembling puppets. Teddy seems to hate him, as he says some rude things to Jake. Teddy then shows his ability to control his puppets. Jake attends supper with the other children along with Miss Peregrine. Teddy says some irrelevant things about Jake and his grandpa, so Emma gets furious and leaves the table. Miss Peregrine then scolds Teddy for his bad behavior. The next scene shows everyone gathering in the living room to watch a movie based on a peculiar's dream, which shows Emma and Jake about to do a smelly kiss. Miss Peregrine quickly shuts the projector because it's X-rated. Jake awkwardly says that he needs to go home as it is already late. Everyone proceeds to go outside wearing masks. Miss Peregrine proceeds to control time with her clock. She performs the reset, which shows the scene of the air raid of the German Air Force. After the reset, Emma guides Jake on his way back home. As they're walking, Emma spots a fat bird that later turns out to be Miss Avocet, who can manipulate time. Emma quickly aids the bird and returns to the house to ask for Miss Peregrine's help. Meanwhile, Jake is walking back home when his dad sees him and asks where he went. Jake then makes an excuse, saying that he lost his sense of time. A farmer then calls out to them, accusing Jake for the death of his lambs. Jake defends himself, but his dad gets furious, and so they leave. After scolding Jake, the father goes downstairs to grab a drink. After seeing his dad leave, Jake reads the letter he got from the children's home. Morning comes. The father's plan to go to the beach gets interrupted when they meet a weird man at the shore, so they head back to their place. As his dad is asleep, Jake escapes and heads back to the children's home. Jake informs Miss Peregrine about what he read in the letter and asks her about it, but she refuses to tell him anything. Afterward, Teddy guides Jake to meet Victor, but as Jake tries to talk to him, Victor does not respond. Teddy places a puppet heart inside of Victor and controls him to talk. It is later revealed that Victor had died from the hollows. Jake decides to ask Emma about what killed Victor. She refuses at first, but eventually they head to her secret hideout. They go to the sea and hop on a boat. Emma rows the Tesla boat. She suddenly jumps at the ocean, surprising Jake, which leads him to follow her. They swim together to a sunken ship. They enter the room, and Emma proceeds to disperse all the existing water, showing Jake her air abilities. Emma shows Jake things that his grandpa left to her before he retired. Jake goes through the things and sees photographs of what they call bad peculiars. Jake recognizes Baron, the one he saw before his grandpa died. Emma tells Jake that he is peculiar too, since he can enter a time loop. Jake refuses to believe her, so Emma proves it to him by showing him his ability to see the hollows, which Jake inherited from his grandpa. The next scene shows Miss Peregrine explaining everything to Jake. She tells him about the horrible fate of Baron and his group when they conducted an experiment that turned them into hollows, causing them to be invisible before others. But years later, Baron discovered a way to regain humanity, and that is to eat other peculiars' eyes, especially from peculiar children. Suddenly, Olive interrupts their conversation by informing Miss Peregrine that Miss Avocet is now awake. Miss Avocet shares how her time loop was invaded by the hollows, leaving her with no choice but to leave the children. Miss Peregrine informs the children to get ready, as they will leave for another time loop the next day. As they get ready, Emma tries to convince Jake to stay, but Jake chooses to return to his timeline. When Jake returns, his dad informs him of news about a dead body found on the island. To their shock, they discover that the resident died without eyes, similar to Jake's grandpa. All of a sudden, Jake runs away from the scene, and his dad tries to follow him. He fails to do so, but a man volunteers to chase Jake. As Jake tries to enter the time loop, the man calls out to him. It is then revealed that the man turns out to be peculiar, as he also manages to enter the time loop. The man's peculiarity is to shift identities. He reveals his identity, and that is Baron himself. It's also revealed that Jake's therapist was also Baron, who only shapeshifted. After all this time, Baron only followed Jake to reveal another time loop that led him to find the location of Miss Peregrine and the children. Miss Peregrine and others rush to prepare their things when the doorbell suddenly rings. She opens the door only to be greeted by Baron with his sharp weapon on Jake's neck. She tries to calm the children down by ordering them to follow Baron's instructions for their own good. Miss Peregrine then shifts to her bird form and goes inside the cage. Baron pushes Jake inside the room where the other children are. As soon as Baron leaves, the children prepare for the Hollow's arrival. The children shut all the doors and windows and hurry to get their weapons. Miss Avocet is instructing the children when a Hollow suddenly attacks her from behind. Jake hurries to grab a weapon. Teddy gets too close to the Hollow, so he gets smashed to the wall. The children escape to the attic after Jake shoots the Hollow, saving Teddy. They all rush to get outside of the window and into the tree, as it is almost time for the reset, wherein the house gets bombed by the Germans. Meanwhile, the Hollow almost catches up to them, but gets involved in the bombing, causing the Hollow to die. Later that time, the children prepare the ship. They head to Blackpool to go after Baron and Miss Peregrine. When they arrive, Jake head to the tower along with Emma and Millard, wherein Emma threatens Baron and his group to go to the pier, or else they will face the consequences. And so Baron instructs his 2 henchmen, along with 4 Hollows, to follow the children. Jake and the other children commence their plan. They start by throwing snow to the Hollows in order to make them visible. Teddy then proceeds to fight the Hollows with his puppets, and with that, their plan to eliminate Hollows succeeds. After a while, the children sneak their way into the tower to save Miss Peregrine. They struggle to face the group of Baron, but eventually manage to defeat them. Meanwhile, Emma and Jake follow Baron to rescue Miss Peregrine. Emma stuns Baron with her air ability, while Jake tries to free Miss Peregrine along with other birds. Emma runs out of breath to hold out Baron, leading him to be free. Baron attempts to open the door, but before he does, Jake successfully unlocks the cage of the birds. Baron is about to kill Jake when he hears Emma and Teddy calling out to him. Baron decides to use his ability to shapeshift and proceeds to transform into Jake's appearance. Emma and Teddy get confused by who the imposter is, but Jake manages to prove the real him through his peculiarity. Right then, a Hollow intrudes the place. Since Baron has transformed into Jake, the Hollow does not recognize him and targets him. The Hollow ends up killing Baron, and in time, Jake manages to shoot the Hollow before it can get to them. After the success of their plan, the children leave to return to their timeline. The children bid their goodbyes to Jake as he plans to stay in his timeline. After everything, Jake goes back to his grandpa's place and sees him all alive and well. Jake then tells his story to his grandpa after everything that happened. The grandpa encourages Jake to go back to the children, especially to Emma. Jake catches up with Emma and others. He tells Emma how long it took him to catch up with them. But instead of Emma responding by words, she gives Jake a smelly tongue massage, and that ends the film with bliss. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.